Hello again, freelancer. I'm delighted to have you here for another week. Do you have only one client? You start at 9 because that's what you've been told. You use their computer, their system, their offices. You ask for permission to go on vacation and you earn the same every month. And besides, every month you pay your self-employment fee. If this sounds like your life, there's a real chance you're not a freelancer, but an employee who's being forced to pay their own Social Security. This has a name, a misclassified freelancer, and it's not a complaint, but a legal classification with consequences for both parties. Today, I'll give you 3 keys. What exactly the labor inspectorate looks for to classify it. An 8-question test that you can take right now. And what happens later with the real figures, not the ones going around. So if you're ready, you know the drill. Let's go. A misclassified freelancer is someone registered as self-employed who in practice works as an employee. The contract says there's a commercial relationship between 2 companies, but in daily reality, it's a labor relationship between a company and a worker. The labor inspectorate, which I mentioned before, evaluates several elements: voluntariness, remuneration, personal nature, and above all, 2 that do almost all the work: dependency and otherness. They sound like jargon, but I'll explain them. They're simple. Dependency means that you don't organize your own work. You receive orders on what to deliver and how to do it. Someone decides your schedule and in what order you do tasks, and you're integrated into someone else's organization. A real freelancer receives a commission and decides how and when to execute it. In contrast, an employee receives instructions. Let's move on to otherness. It means that you assume neither the risk nor the benefit of your activity. You earn the same whether the project goes well or poorly, and you don't provide the means, the company does. If the work generates more value than expected, you don't see an extra dollar, but if it goes wrong, you don't lose it either. The entire economic result belongs to the company, and you receive a fixed amount. A real freelancer assumes the risk, and if the project gets complicated, they lose margin, but if it goes well, they earn more. Let's get practical. Answer these 8 questions for me. Do you have a fixed schedule that you didn't decide? Do you work at your client's facilities with their equipment and their tools? Do you have to ask for permission or give notice to take vacations? Do you receive instructions on how to do the work, not just on what to deliver? Do you earn the same every month regardless of the actual volume? Do you have a company email or card and appear on the organizational chart? If you can't go one day, you have to give notice like an employee would. Could you not send another person in your place to do a job that you have to do? None of these questions decide anything on their own, but they're not evaluated one by one and separately, but together as a set of clues. The more you answer yes, the more your situation looks like a disguised employment relationship. If you said yes to 6 or more, this really interests you. Now let's see the example, but in reverse, because there's a lot of misplaced fear. Having only one client doesn't make you a misclassified freelancer. You can bill 100% to a single client and be a perfectly legal freelancer. What matters isn't how many clients you have, but how you work with each one of them. If you organize your own time, provide your own means, take your own risks, and finally deliver a result, you're a freelancer. Working remotely for a company doesn't make you a false freelancer either. Nor does charging the same amount every month if that amount represents a product that you yourself have organized. Remember that all the questions we've asked before are looked at as a whole as indications. There's a legal figure designed exactly for freelancers with one dominant client. This figure is the trade, an economically dependent self-employed worker. It's regulated in the statute of the self-employed worker. You're a trade if you receive at least 75% of your income from a single client, and you also have to meet several conditions: having your own means and materials for your activity, not having your own workers in your charge, not having a public premises open in your name, organizing the development of the activity yourself. The trade has a registered contract and some rights that a simple freelancer doesn't have, like compensation if the client breaks their relationship without cause. Look at the difference. The trade depends economically on a client, but still organizes their own work. The false freelancer doesn't organize anything. One client and real autonomy is a trade. One client without any autonomy and without organizing is a false freelancer. Let's go with the consequences. I'll start with the company side, which is what generates the most doubts. Hiring a false freelancer is a serious offense. Not registering someone who starts working is specified in Article 22.2 of the LISOs, the Law on Infractions and Sanctions in the Social Order. The fine ranges from 3,750 to 12,000 euros. And something very important, the fine is applied for each affected worker. A company with 6 false freelancers hired doesn't receive 1 fine, it receives 6. In addition to the fine, the company has to pay the unpaid contributions from the last 4 years, with a surcharge of between 100 and 150% of those fees. And a procedural detail that surprises many companies, the labor inspectorate can declare the employment status directly in its report. There's no need to wait for a rule-in. When the report is final, it's directly enforceable. If you're the false freelancer, this is what's at stake. You can sue before the social court to have the employment relationship recognized, and with that recognition come the rights you haven't had: vacations, the difference between what you earn and what the applicable collective agreement sets, registration, and correct contributions. You can also report it to the labor inspectorate, which is the cost-free route. If the inspectorate finds an employment relationship, the company may be forced to register you with retroactive effect, in addition to being fined. Let's go to the deadlines and pay attention because this is where everyone gets lost. To claim unpaid wages, you have 1 year, and to challenge a dismissal, you have 20 business days. This is critical because of how these types of labor relationships usually come to an end. The company doesn't fire you because you're not formally an employee, they just stop replying or sending work. If you let 2 months pass wondering if the whole process is worth it, that door has already closed. If you think you're a misclassified contractor, follow these steps. First, document everything. Save emails, messages, vacation requests, everything that could show you're actually dependent on them. Say that outside of your company email. Second, decide what it is you want. The strategy changes a lot if you want to fix your status and keep working there, or leave with a settlement. Third, talk to an employment lawyer before you do anything. And if you're the one hiring, review how you actually work, not just how you wrote that contract. If the person doesn't organize their work and doesn't take the risk, rewriting the contract fixes nothing. To summarize, let's stick to the essentials. In these situations, the written contract doesn't decide, how you work on a daily basis does. Dependency and lack of ownership are the 2 key words. You don't take the risk and you don't organize. Having just 1 client doesn't make you misclassified. The economically dependent contractor status also exists. If you decide to end that relationship or it breaks for another reason, you have 20 business days. Being a freelancer means taking risks in exchange for freedom. And if you have neither of those 2 things, you're not a freelancer. You're an employee paying your own fees. And that's it for today's video. I hope I've helped you and answered your questions. If you have any left, write them in the comments. And, like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things freelance. Thanks for being here another week, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!